Welcome everyone to my 100 subscriber special. Uh, I've been thinking a long time what I wanted to do for this moment when it finally came to pass, and I've decided to pretty much tell you guys everything about my past. Really open up to you guys, and that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so we kick it back to where it all started, and that is my first year in school, kindergarten. I actually wasn't allowed to attend kindergarten the first time my parents signed me up for it. So, and that's because I had ADHD and I had no medication to take for it. And so I honestly, from the start, felt like I was some sort of freak of nature. And in the end, it just kept going. It was something that I never quite got over with. Um, Back then, I also used to actually spend a lot of time with my family. Uh, like even me, my mother, my grandfather, and my cousin, like we all used to play video games together. Like we had a Super Nintendo in the kitchen and we'd all huddle around that day in, day out playing games and stuff. We'd be playing on the PlayStation in my grandfather's room. Bet you can't guess what game we played, huh? Yeah, Twisted Metal 2. As a kid, I was very much an outcast. I didn't listen to the same music as other kids. I wasn't really interested in the same shit as other kids. Like, the real only thing I had in common with some other kids back then was my like of Pokemon. Apart from that, I was a completely different person from them, and I was treated as such. I was always singled out and harassed and bullied as a kid growing up. Zoom forward a few years, and pretty soon, my family stopped really paying attention to me all that much. We never sat down around the TV anymore. We never had fun anymore, and everything just died down. It honestly felt like my family was taken away from me on that day, but I continued on, trying to find ways to cope. I had made a single friend at that time. If you had watched my old channel, you would know that I had called him Meadow back then. So, let's fast forward a few more years to when I had first arrived on YouTube. So, when I had first came here to YouTube, it was on a channel that was known as Stunt Slam. I had become known for doing lots of Twisted Metal related videos, and I had a decent sized audience, but it all felt like when I tried to expand my horizons on that channel, everyone just died away. I had started losing subscribers, videos maybe got 5 views at best, and I honestly felt like it was worth nothing at that point. So, what ended up happening was a lot has happened, had happened up to that point. My grandmother got diagnosed with cancer. The one person I had really looked up to in life had pretty much gone to jail for drugs and shit. Meadow was becoming an asshole, and I had nothing. I had nowhere. I was stripped of everything, back to ground zero, and I had to try and rebuild. And after a while, I had looked. My grandmother had ended up passing away right before my first year in high school, and it messed with me so much mentally. I just couldn't do it. and so I pretty much just left at about the halfway mark through my first year in high school. I just couldn't do it. The emotional and mental strain on me was just too much to ask. So, I began to wonder how I could replace this feeling I had where I just felt nothing but loss inside. I felt like my life had no meaning, as if I had no one to turn to, no one I could confide my feelings, my emotions to, and that's when I made the decision to come back to YouTube. And I did so on my own terms. I had gotten into role-playing a few years before that, and I had created a couple characters that I had really felt connected to. One in particular was a greenhorned Larvesta named Furia. And that was one of the characters that a lot of my friends that I had online knew the most. And I guess you can call them friends, like they weren't meant to last. It was... The site had ended up pretty much shutting down, and I lost contact with every one of them. Again, having everything I had loved taken from me. So, in the end, I decided to go with naming this YouTube account FureaLarvesta after my my Larvesta OC, Furia Exelis. And that brings us a bit closer to where we are today, but it's still not all the way done. I had started making YouTube videos again. I had gotten back in contact with an older friend of mine who was there for a while, but then ended up disappearing off the face of the earth. Meadow was still out of the picture, having pretty much been consumed by drugs and such himself. And I just had to try and hold on to make it through life at that point. I found Facebook, made new friends, and it started numbing the pain a bit. The problem being is that also wasn't meant to last. A lot of things happened, and one person who didn't like me ended up turning everyone I had as a friend against me. I ended up leaving Facebook only to come back later under a different name. Starting again from scratch. That brings us a bit closer, but still not all the way done yet. So, after I had started to settle down once more, I had begun to find people who I could trust and who would care about me. I had found love, and turns out that, well, like everything else that had happened up to that point, it was just a lie. My relationship fell through. The harassment and bullying at high school just got even worse after I went back. And I had attempted to take my own life. After it failed, I had cried myself to sleep that night. I started living in a slump for a few months after that. And that's when I met Lucian. He's been one of the few people who have always been there for me this whole time, and to be honest, I can't thank him enough for it. Despite the fact that me and him had our ups and downs, and have been through multiple relationships with each other in the past, I felt I could trust him. He was very precious to me. High school got even worse, to the point where I was being physically hurt by other students, and not much was ever being done about it. Like kids firing nails at me with rubber bands, for example. And it was allowed. It was all allowed, and they didn't get punished for it. So, I managed to just barely squeak by through high school because in my second year there, I had met Spade. Spade had pretty much opened me to finding hope again, I guess you could say that. He became a close friend, and I started hanging out with him and his small group, and that's how I ended up making it through high school. I never did finish high school, though. Spade graduated, and I didn't have enough credits to graduate because of the system we have in place here. I dropped out. That brings us a lot closer to where we are today, where I started focusing more on my YouTube for a while. But still, I got no recognition, no one to talk to, and I had decided that what I really wanted to do with this channel was to reach out to others, take them by the hand, and try to help them, you know? I want to make friends here. That's my goal. I want to try and unite us all through the art that is gaming. And you can call me a fool if you want. You can say that I'm stupid for thinking such a thing would be possible, but games are a medium that do something that mediums like stories and movies can't do. And that is not only bring the community together, but it's to also have people interact with one another. And that is something that I find completely amazing about them. The experience of a game is different for each person. And that's something that you just can't do with a book or a movie. And so I honestly think that to unite this world that we live in, games are honestly the media of choice. Games cater to everyone but no one, which is a unique oddity. And that's why I chose why I wanted to do this the way I am. I'm not going to go and just play certain games because they're popular. I'm going to play certain games because I want to. And I'm inviting you guys to join me on my adventures. I want you guys to be there, and I want to meet you. That brings us to recently, with a game called Angels with Scaly Wings. If you've been around my channel at all time this lately, so God, I can't even English right now. If you've come around my channel recently, you have probably seen this game. It is a visual novel with some dating sim elements thrown in, but it was the story itself from the game that really caught my attention and why I started playing it. And apparently you guys agreed, because once I had started playing that game, my sub count had just started skyrocketing. People started watching my content, and people actually started talking to me. To be honest, when I first saw the couple YouTube comments on my videos for that game, I actually started crying. I had felt like finally my calls were answered. That finally all this work was worth it. You have no idea how much it means to me that you guys are here in my life now. And I want to continue trying to make good content for you guys. My name is Furia, and I'm happy to meet you.